How are you guys planning with the roof open tonight?
What an interesting question, Jeff. Um, I think curiosity as much as anything else. I want to see how just get some feedback from the players. We played with it open during the exhibition game, and it got pretty good reviews. It warmed up a little bit down the field, but the way the AC worked, it was still very comfortable. So I think we reached out to MLB, and in turn they checked with the Mariners. I think everybody was on the same page and comfortable with it. And it's an option. Once we move forward, whether we have fans or not in the short term, it's an option for us to consider. Just if it's if it's an environment that everybody enjoys.
I don't think there's any threat of rain or anything, but can you guys still close the roof?
Yeah, that would be the only scenario. Rain or any sort of extreme weather would be the only scenario I think that we would close it tonight. Once the game starts. I believe the umpires weigh in at that point, but there's no threat of rain, and so we don't expect that it'll. We expect we'll play with it the whole time open. We'll start opening it. I think around 7:45, 7:50. We'll open it about 20 minutes before game time. It takes about 10 minutes to open. It takes another 15, 20 minutes beforehand for the engineers to do the kind of a safety check, and then they'll do that, and around 7:50 or so we'll open it up, and we'll play with it open tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Evan?
So the follow-up would be that is part of the curiosity to see if this has an impact on the offense.
I don't know that it'll have an impact on the offense. Might have an impact on the flight of the ball a little bit. I think remains to be seen. But I think there's only one way to really to find out, and that's to get some information. And so obviously it affects both teams the same, and we'll kind of see where it goes. But there is some. I don't know if I use the term curiosity. I think that's part of it, but I think we haven't had a chance to really experiment at all. Normally we would have had it open in cooler weather early on. I think our initially we set our protocols to be around 85 degrees, 80 degrees. We would we would keep it closed, but again, I think by the time we're opening it close to 8 o'clock at night, that sun will be well down below that western wall. It won't be any direct sunlight kind of heating up the park, and I expect it'll be a pretty pleasant atmosphere.
John, to change subjects just a little bit, after this, is your perspective changed on this team and how you approach this year by this weekend? Has that changed your perspective?
No, not significantly. I do think it speaks to the nature of the season we're in. Both the 60 games, the playoff format, all the unpredictable variables that we've got going on with the virus and everything that's related to it, where how much one weekend or one series can kind of change the perception, right? And it's more than perception, because quite frankly, it doesn't take a whole lot, and it changed the standings dramatically to where day to day things are a little different. But I feel similarly about the club today as I did after the Oakland series. We were in all the games in the Oakland series. Really, we've been in just about every game except one, I think, in San Francisco, where we had 11 walks, and pitching staff did, and other than that, we've been in just about every game. Where the offense has, not gotten off to the start that we hope it would, but hopefully guys start to pick up here a little bit.
Okay, thanks. I'll let others partake.
John, I'm looking at your 60-man roster, and it looks to me that if I was a selling team, it would be smart for me to all the Texas Rangers, it looks like you are well set up to make a trade, either a small trade, but even if you want to make a major blockbuster trade, you're in position to do that. Do you feel your roster is set up for that kind of trade?
I don't know what kind of trade that is. What are you talking about?
Like if you want to get Cliff Lee again or Cole Hamilton, you have a lot of prospects on this 60-man roster that you could put you in position to make that kind of a trade.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't think trades are really limited by that as much, just because you can always use player to be named later mechanism to acquire players. It's interesting. I've just kind of started recently, or we've just kind of started having some of those conversations with other clubs. Much more preliminarily, and trying to understand where the market's at. And a lot of the feedback that we're getting is kind of similar to what we're telling clubs, and it's there's still so much unknown. We're still trying to figure out not just where we are, but where the league's at, and I think it's going to be a very interesting trade market. So, do we have the prospect capital to acquire players? Yeah, absolutely. I believe we do. But I think we're still a few weeks away from really getting into that.
Yeah, that was my next question. Is when do you think you have to show your cards?
Again, we're just starting to have some of those conversations, both internally and externally, and we'll see.
Do you have any updates on Nick Goody and Santana, please, sir, and then I'll hang up.
Not from the trainers. Danny worked out a little bit on the field earlier, took some ground balls at first, and kind of he's continued his throwing program. He feels good, but we really haven't pushed the arm yet. He's hit as well, so I think he's over the next few days that'll ramp up, and we'll test it a little bit more and have more information. I think Danny's he could probably. And he could definitely DH right now. I think he could play some first base, and we'd like to try to expand that versatility a little bit. And to do so, we need to see where his arm's at. So we'll keep building up his arm and testing it likely before we activate him. But he's eligible now at any time. Goody just walked by and gave me the thumbs up. I think he was smiling, but he was wearing a mask, so I'm not totally sure.
Questions, Chris?
What did you see in Derek Dietrich to want to bring him on?
Yeah, Derek's a guy that I think really three things: power, versatility, and energy. I think all three things were appealing. He got slowed down after he banged up his shoulder a little bit last year, but got off to the hot start. He's always been able to impact the ball. Can play second, can play first, can play a little third, can play a little outfield. And he goes out there and he brings it every day. He works really hard. He's really committed, and he enjoys playing the game. So I think that energy level was a plus as well. But all three of those things were factors there.
Other questions? Levi?
The first, the easy thing to do is to see the Rangers sign a second baseman. That means the writing's on the wall for the door. Is there any truth to that, or is this really just more of a depth / versatility signing?
All the above. Not necessarily Rugi. I just think it's, I think we're a few weeks in now, and which is the equivalent of over a month in a regular season. Guys are putting in effort. That's not really in question, but I think competition's a good thing. Guys come up here and produce, they're going to get a chance to stay in the lineup.
My second question is, you guys, it seems like this weekend one of the bigger storylines beyond just the sweep was it looks like you finally have the ninth inning kind of figured out for the next little while. I was curious, kind of going back to when you guys signed Rafael Montero things probably didn't end super well for him with the Mets. And was there any concern about kind of the way things had ended in New York, or was that just because it was a minor league signing, there was some low risk there? Like, can you kind of talk me through some of that from a year and a half ago, whenever that was?
No, he's a guy that's, I think a lot of and we've had plenty of players like this too, where guys that are starters and have good stuff, but whether it's a third pitch or inability to maintain a delivery, inability to maintain stuff for an extended period of time, they don't maintain, and they don't have that same level of success, and then they transition to a bullpen role. On top of that, he had the TJ, and a lot of times when guys go through the rehab process, especially with I've said before, I think our group out in Arizona does a fantastic job, not just of getting guys healthy and on the training table, but also the kind of mental aspect, and then also and getting their deliveries right. You see a lot of guys come out of that program with even better command than they had before, and Montero's another example of that. So that, if anything, that's probably surprised me a little bit, just because he hadn't had that level of fastball command earlier in his career. But you get around Rafael, you talk to him, and this guy, he's bright and he's quiet, unassuming, but he sees the game. Talking to Doug Mathis the other day, was talking just how just some of the little intricacies and things that he picks up during the game, and his intelligence level and feel for the game. So yeah, really, our scouts have always liked him. They've always kind of talked for years back. They've always talked about him that be a conversion candidate to the bullpen, and coming off the injury was kind of the ideal time, and I'm glad we were able to land him.
Thank you.
We got time for a couple more. We'll go Steven and Evan.
No, we hadn't had a chance to ask you what you thought of the four-base error yesterday, and if you can give us an update if there's been any kind of formal appeal on that ruling.
Yeah, I think we are submitting an appeal on that. Listen, at the end of it's hard to say on these things. I think the official scorers are a little bit of a disadvantage doing doing it off TV, because you don't necessarily see the whole field and the flight of the ball. I think sometimes it's a little bit inconsistent from play to play. I thought the Mike Trout ball to Odor the other day, and then you see that ball yesterday to right field. Like, for me, they should both be the same. They should either both be hits or they should both be errors. I think that you're kind of applying the same logic, that either it's a play that should be made or it's not. So I don't feel strongly on it. I think consistency would be beneficial there.
Okay, Evan and then Jeff. Last one. We'll go Evan and Jeff.
Hey, JD, in relationship to the question Levi asked, both Odor and Elvis are long-term commitments for you guys financially. And I know you don't want that to ever be part of a playing time decision, but does it inevitably factor in here with both of those guys, or what is your approach at this point in time to whether or not that would dictate how much they play?
Probably has more to do with decisions in the off season, as far as what. Obviously we didn't go out and target other players at those positions this winter, in large part because of the commitments that we've made to them. But I think in season, especially in this kind of a year, it's, who gives us the best chance to win, and as Woody said in the past, try to get guys out there that are productive and play the hot hand. So competition's a plus. Competition's a plus, and there's the more the better.
Okay.